Hey guys, I know it's been a while, but I wanted to get on here tonight and talk to you about the first time I met Connor, because we just celebrated him being home 3 years, and I haven't really talked about it in depth, and I want to because I want to always remember, and that's kind of why I make these videos. I don't even know if hardly anybody watches them. If they don't, that's fine. They're kind of for me to go back and remember things and help people if I can, but this one's just going to kind of be about our journey, and I'm going to try to keep it specific to meeting him so I don't get chasing rabbits here, which happens a lot in my videos. So, January 11th, 2016, we met Connor. We flew to Hong Kong, and we met him on we flew there the 8th, but we met him on the 11th, which would have been the 10th here, like the night of the 10th, probably around like 7 p.m., 8 p.m., something like that, here, our time. And it's kind of cool because my parents were in church, because we were trying to figure out the time difference and like when we would actually be meeting him, what time it would be here, and we finally figured out that it would be like while our families were in church, which was just a super cool thing. And so we rode with our social work. I cannot even hardly talk. We rode with our social worker, well, his social worker, in a taxi to the orphanage. And I remember being so nervous but so excited. And we got there, and they took us in. All the other kids had went out for an outing that day, but they left him there at the orphanage because Connor was super shy, and they knew he would need some time. And once we met the other kids, I kind of realized why they did that, and I was really thankful because the other kids were like all over you. Like we were hugging them and loving on them, and that was a super cool thing too. I could do a whole separate video about that if I were allowed to talk about them publicly, which I try not to do, but I do want to say that all of his buddies in the orphanage are home with their families, so they probably wouldn't even mind if I did share about it, but I would not do that for privacy reasons. But anyway, just know that we fell in love with a lot of little kiddos there, and we were able to love on them and hold them and show them a lot of love, and they're home with their families now because God is good. But anyway, so we get there, and we're about to walk in the room he's in, and his caregiver, we started in, and his caregiver was like, no, wait, because she was going to video. She wasn't ready. So anyway, we kind of stepped back a little bit, and she got it ready, and they videoed for us. I have a video of it. And anyway, so we walked in, and there he was, and his key caregiver, which was the one that was like specifically assigned to him. They all took care of the kids, don't get me wrong, but they all had certain caseloads, and he was on her caseload, and she was like, hi, Mom and Daddy, how are you? And just hearing her call us Mom and Daddy was so crazy. We obviously knew we were parents, we were matched with him for like 6 months prior to that, so we knew he was ours, but to have her call us Mom and Daddy with him in the room was so cool. I just remember that being one of the coolest things ever. And I had told myself up until that point, I had some rules I had discussed with myself, I guess. And I told myself, do not cry, because I knew if I cried, I had 8 years worth of tears while I had waited on him. And then I had 21 months worth of sweat and tears in the adoption journey, and I'm like, if I start crying, it's going to be like sobbing uncontrollably, can't hardly breathe, can't hardly talk, and I'm going to scare him to death. So I'm like, I am refusing to cry. I'm not going to do it. And I also told myself I would not pick him up because I knew he would be afraid of us, and we were trying not to bombard him. They had told us he was super shy, and so I'm like, I am not going to try to pick him up. I'm not doing it. And I did both of those things, y'all. I walked in, and I will say I walked in front of Jeremy, and I never really realized this until I went back and watched the video later, and he let me go ahead of him. Here I am. I'm going to cry already. And that again, I didn't even realize at the time, but when I watched back later, that was such a huge moment for me. And to realize that he'd went through every step of this with me. He dealt with me through 8 years of struggles, 8 years of tears, 8 years of heartache, 8 years of sobbing, 8 years of praying. He wanted to be a dad just as much as I wanted to be a mom. And he loves me so much. I know he does. And in that moment when I watched that video, it just made me realize even more how much he loves me, because he let me go ahead of him. He was a few steps behind me, and he let me run in ahead, and it might have been that I shoved him out of the way and took off in front of him. I don't know, but I like to think that he let me go ahead out of love for me. Because he's talked about before how bad he knew I wanted to be a mom. And again, he wanted to be a dad just as bad, but anyway, that's just something I wanted to throw in, because I was overwhelmed when I went back and watched the video and realized he let you go ahead. But anyway, so I went in, and of course she said, "Hey, Mom and Daddy, how are you?" And I went right in and picked him up, y'all. I did. I swore I wasn't going to, but it was one of those things where, like, I couldn't hardly breathe. He took my breath away, and the next thing I knew, I was holding him. And he let me hold him for a second, and then he kind of arched his back. He wanted back down, and I, of course, I put him right back down, and I cried. The moment you can see me in the video kind of glance in the door, I started crying. For just a second, and I quickly pulled myself back together, because again, I didn't want to scare him. I didn't want to release all these years worth of tears and get super crazy, but I did cry and pick him up. So anyway, so much for my rules. But anyway, and we just played with him. We got on the floor and played with him. They got out his book. We had sent him a book, and it had pictures of his room, it had pictures of us, pictures of our family, and they got out his book, and they were, "Look, Mom and Daddy," and then they'd point to us, and so that was a really cool thing. And we just hung out with him. Jeremy played guitar, we sung to him. Connor played drums, guitar. We just got down on the floor and kind of hung out with him. It was awesome. And they were videoing this and taking pictures of this for us. But, we didn't even know anybody else was in the room. We seriously didn't. And so, I just was blown away. Of course, obviously. And I think that, nothing will ever prepare you for meeting your child. I know even pregnant women would probably tell you this. There's nothing that will prepare you for the moment you lay eyes on them for the first time. And it was just something I'll never forget. It was one of the most incredible experiences. It took my breath away. And I know a lot of people are like, "Oh, the moments that take your breath away," all the quotes and stuff. But seriously, it did. And I can remember telling myself, in my mind, I did not talk to myself out loud, but I remember thinking, "You gotta breathe, Stephanie, you gotta breathe," because seriously, he was, and I know any mom would tell you this, but he was so much more beautiful than any picture had ever showed, and here he is, he's yours. These 8 years of struggle have come to an end because you've got what you've always wanted. You've got your heart's desire. And we were just overwhelmed with God and His goodness and His mercy. And it was incredible. And I just wanted to get on here and talk about that real quick. I don't want to make this super long, but I just wanted to tell you how it happened, kind of how it went down. So that's how it happened, and it was super exciting. It was super incredible. They took our picture with him. We had our first family picture, and we sent that out to our friends and our family. And obviously, I'll never know exactly what it was like for our friends and family to open that email, but I have had so many people tell me that they wept when they saw us in a picture with him. And I just can't even fathom it. I can't imagine what it was like sitting over here waiting, knowing they're meeting him right now, and it's just so cool. And it's just, adoption is such a beautiful journey. Motherhood, period, is a beautiful journey. I don't care how it comes to you. Birth, adoption, it's incredible. And we are just super blessed. And I will never forget what it was like to look into his eyes for the first time and to hold him and to even watch Jeremy hold him and play with him and sing to him and play guitar to him. And it was a really, really incredible experience. And it was like no other moment in my life. I can never top that. I feel like, it was awesome. And he was, from that moment, he was completely ours. There was no, because up until that point, I was scared to have a child with Down syndrome. I think any new mom's scared, period, if they're being honest. And we were nervous, we were scared, and I know a lot of people are like, well, you chose him, you chose that life, why were you afraid, and I get what they're saying, I totally do, but God kind of told us, this is your baby. It wasn't like, I was going to say it wasn't like we had a choice, but then people are going to be like, of course you had a choice. I hope you get what I'm trying to say here, because I'm not very good with words, but he was our child. It was like, God's like, I'm taking you on this journey to get to your child. It's not about finding a child to adopt. It's about finding your child. So, we were nervous. We were very apprehensive. We felt like we weren't qualified. We were scared. And, when I saw him, I wasn't afraid. Down syndrome didn't enter my mind. It didn't enter my mind, any of that. It was just complete and total love. And it was just, the fears, just, God washed them away. And it was just happiness and bliss. And it was just knowing that finally, here we were, a family of 3. And because we got matched 6 months prior. So we had known for 6 months that we're a family of 3. He's ours. We just had to wait to go get him, and just the joy and the relief even that it brought to finally be together and finally know that he's ours and we can start our life together. And it was just an incredible experience, and I could talk for hours about our time in Hong Kong and our time with the other children at the orphanage and our time with the orphanage workers and how they became our family. I immediately felt close to them. It's the craziest thing I know. But these were the people who had took care of my child. These are the people who played a huge, huge part and a huge role in who he is even today, and they laid the foundation. And even Hong Kong, we were only there a week, but how you feel so connected to their country and their birthplace. It's just, no one, I feel like, and maybe it was just me, but no one told me that. No one told me you're going to fall in love with their birth country. You're going to fall in love with the people who've took care of him. You're going to feel so connected and drawn to them, and you're going to be sad when you leave. You're going to be excited because you're fixing to introduce them to your friends and family. You're fixing to start your life together. You're fixing to bring him home and feel complete. But you're going to also grieve, and you're going to also be sad. So adoption is so beautiful and so wonderful and so mysterious and so new, and so everybody's experience is so different, and so it's not black and white. It's so, just different. And so anyway, I wanted to get on here and say that, but I just wanted to get on here and tell you just a tiny bit about meeting him and just the incredible day it was, the incredible experience it was, and just the love that overflowed our hearts, and how nothing else mattered. Everything faded away. That moment was just our moment, and it was just us, and it was beautiful and wonderful, and we're so thankful that they videoed, and we have that forever to remember. And yeah, and if you have any more questions or you want to know anything else, I'm an open book. I seriously am. I love to talk about our experience. I love to talk about our journey. And I love the way God grew our family. I love that we adopted. I love Connor. I love the hard, beautiful life we have. And the journey we took is not maybe the journey most people take, but it's been a beautiful ride, and we are so blessed and we are so thankful. And so I just wanted to get on here and talk about that, and I wanted to tell you I appreciate you watching. I appreciate you being interested in my life, and just for being true followers and true friends. You guys are awesome. And so yeah, that's the story of meeting Connor. Just about those first moments with him, it was beautiful, and he didn't really even like us yet, and it's still one of the most, there wasn't like hugs and kisses and all this stuff that you want to think that there totally wasn't, because he did not like us like at all yet, and still it was one of the most beautiful moments of my life, and it will forever be etched in my mind. I remember everything about it, and it was just incredible, and we are so thankful for that moment, and we are so thankful for a God who made it all happen, who put us together, and gave us our missing piece, and it's just unfathomable the way He carried us through the whole journey. And so, anyway, I just want to get on here and talk about that, and so thank you for watching.